Hey there, this is Red Falcon. This is the fourth match of the Summer 2022 Wargame Red Dragon Microdeck Tournament Series. With me today is my co-host Trout. We have our teams, the Red Brigade on Team Blue. Ironic, isn't it? Anyways, and we have Team Stepdads on Team Red. So Trout, got any words on about this map before we get into it?
I'm super excited about this match. Couple reasons. For one, this is a redemption match for the stepdads.
Oh,
They
correction,
played in this match.
correction. The bracket had a little shift before we got fully into it. So it's actually not a redemption match for them. It's their first match into the tournament.
Oh, okay. Well, they played one match before, haven't they?
Nope, nope.
Oh, okay.
That was not them. That was let's remember the details. Alsacia and a couple others, but this is Red Brigade's first match indeed.
This is stepdads first, second match though, correct?
I believe this is Stepdad's second match, yes, and I
Yep.
believe they won their first against Alsacia, yes.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. It's a map that we've seen before in the tournament, and it's a map that we saw a very exciting match on. And so I'm really interested to see how this match goes. I'm interested to see where the fights are and how they're fought. I'm really interested to see the assets that are pulled because we've got militia.
Austin, yeah.
Yeah, I am stoked to see how this goes down. So I'm very excited for this match.
So to kind of assess our lineup here, I want to get like a firm understanding for our audience of what the hell is happening here. So it seems like Kaggernaut might be kind of going with like an airborne, and looks like Z, for all intents and purposes, looks like he ran with motorized for this run, seeing as he got militia and these WZ551s. And then looks like we got Marine rolling with I I believe our Marines with the ZSD 90s and WZ 551s under his control. That's got to be Marines. And then taking a look at the opposing team, it looks like Serenialis is probably rolling his standard per usual airborne that we've seen him use. And then we are seeing, I believe, Grey Soviet probably rolling motorized. Yep, but the XA185K RKKs, I think that's solid. That's solid motorized for sure. And then we are seeing Comrade Dude with, I believe, is Yugoslav or Entente armored. Um, so it's going to be an interesting fight, or maybe mechanized. I might be getting ahead of myself, but I believe it's armored. Um, but we shall see. Uh, with that said, it's going to be an interesting matchup, seeing as this is a naval map. But there are assets that can be deployed for anti-ship if it comes down to that. And I do appreciate the little commentaries here in the center that were happening earlier. So somebody else was like, burn it with fire and other things, and then a Pange by Z. But no, no. It looks like there's going to be an interesting merge on Juliet. Because Kaga is saying he's probably wants support going into Juliet, provided that he's got his helicopters up in the air and up and ready. And it looks like Comrade Dude wants to make the aggressive push into that corner over there. And Serena Ellis is requesting reconnaissance on a lot of sides. But Marine seems like he wants to push into the bay. So we shall see. We are definitely going to see. Oh, it's going to be an interesting one. Are you ready, Trout?
Yeah, I'm super ready for this. I'm excited.
Oh my goodness, I can hear it in your voice. All right, are you ready? I'll just start the countdown. Five, four, three, two, one. Let's go. All right, and the helicopters are off.
Correct me if I'm wrong. There's literally zero anti-air for Red Brigade. They don't have a single anti-air unit on the field.
It does not look like it. Looks like Marines going hard in for what I can only call shit fight mountain between Charlie and Hotel. And it looks like Kager's going hard in for the infantry to secure the town over just on the south side of Juliet. Sorry, I should say according to the map, true north side of Juliet. Prospectively, it is the south side. So,
We've got an early Jangu pull. There's 3 Jangus. That's a huge, huge amount of points.
oh,
And
that is a
say,
huge investment off for 160 points per ship. That could be pricey.
I will say that that strips a lot of assets. It's a very high risk move, where those have got to make a move pretty quick in order to counter the early setup in this match.
Oh,
So we'll see what happens.
and we are seeing Lijian being brought into Shit Fight Mountain. Kager's playing for keeps. He's got Lijian 90s, and these guys, these no nothing to toy about. They may have not gotten an update from the last patch, but at 12 rounds a minute with their RPG launcher, they are still a menace to be dealt with. Meanwhile, looks like Grey Soviet is pushing hard into a hotel. Lots of infantry. Meanwhile, looks like Z is pushing his transports and UVAs into the towns. We see an L-19 back here by Serenialis, and it looks like it is performing combat air patrol as per regular its duties. Meanwhile, we are seeing 3 Jianghus in the back here going hard towards Alpha, maybe even going into the Bay, or maybe even going for Foxtrot if they're really, really, how do you say, bold. We shall see. For now, we're going to pay attention to Grey Soviet. Looks like he's got his Ericsson Jakari and Carton Jakaris parking over here at Hotel. As Comrade Dude seems to be hard pressed to push hard into Juliet, and looks like he's going to be encountering Z. It's going to be a head-on confrontation. What I believe is going to be between Comrade Dude and Z Newman. There might be some support from Kagger, but it looks like Marine is hard dug into the mountain, as is Grey Soviet.
Very interesting what happens here on the Juliet side and on the Kilo Lima side. There isn't a lot of assets spread out there, and so anyone who really dedicates to an attack there may have an early advantage.
For sure. Question is, who will be bold enough to press the first attack? And I would be surprised if Comrade is willing to push with 3 tanks without infantry support. Or sorry, I should say 4 tanks. The M84 and the meme tank is here. Meanwhile, looks like Z is taken up on top of the mountain or the plateau here with the PTZ 59s. These little guys got a recent update in the last patch, bringing them down to 40 points from 50 for an 18 AP gun at max cannon range. Meanwhile, looks like we are having some skirmishes. Kagernaut is absolutely dunking on these Ericsson and Jakari. And looks like we are getting a bomber coming in, and we got some missiles flying out from L-19s, but no kills. But looks like Kagernaut's going hard in for the air game, and the L-19 is down. Ooh, that's gotta be painful. There's only 2 per card.
That is a lot of volume of air pulls. I did not expect that many coming out, and we'll see what that does. I'm quite excited about that. I did not expect 2 really, dedicated air assets like that to be coming out, air players. So I'm stoked.
All right, so it looks like Z has taken out 2 M84 tanks and a third
Oh,
with PTC 59s.
that is a brutal, brutal loss there on just outside of Juliet. Not even tanks, tank destroyers. Not much for frontal, really big gun, and they have definitely done the damage there point wise.
But the thermobaric bomber has gotten the retaliation, taking out 3 of the PTZ 59s, leaving a couple others maimed and wounded. Will the rest of them get out alive?
We're seeing that early Django move. It's really kicking in right now. There's nothing to stop it, but there's nothing to back it up. So we'll really see what effect that has on the incoming air lane and on pulling reinforcements through Gulf. I think that's going to be potentially very important.
Indeed, I was quite surprised that there wasn't that there. Uh, I was expecting more of a push in a Foxtrot, but it looks like it's not happening. It looks like he's just moving into the bay, potentially to cause a distraction or harass movement. We shall see. We shall see. Looks,
Given those ships are command ships, that is a very, you think you want Foxtrot and you think you want to be pulling reinforcements through there. But
mhm.
that's an interesting move.
And looks like we got Kagger here pulling another J7H. This thing carries a 1,000 kilogram bomb capable of dealing 20 AP on a hit. That is nothing to scoff at. We see, I love to call this thing the barrel bomb launcher. For all intents and purposes, boom! There goes two XA-25 KTs. Comrade Dude making a very aggressive push on Marines Lujan Doi over by Kilo, and the aggression is there. But Kagger's MI8s are there to just throw some rockets in their face and panic the hell out of them. I will say the early grab for Alpha is giving a territory that may not be all that contestable for Serenity Alice and them out there with it. And we got a MiG-29K coming in with anti-ship missiles. We got officer injured on the board, and the ship's made it away, and the anti-ship made it away. Well, the Jianghu certainly suffered a lot of damage. It's burning, but she's not sunk yet.
Interesting choice for Comrade Dude is ground-based missiles with BAL, which is not super common microdeck format. So we'll see how that works out.
Oh,
It is a very good disincentive having that ground-based artillery because it means you just don't really want to stick around in that area.
yes indeed. Oh, and we did see it fire a couple of missiles, it seems. Su-27K coming in trying to get a missile off, but with three ships there, getting a single missile through will be a hard sell. Looks like Gray Soviet's moving in to try to cap Hotel. And so is Marine. It looks like both of them were a little late to the cap game early off. But I guess as soon as they get in position, they'll be no further than they are currently. But Serenity Alice and Cumberdude and Gray Soviet are holding the lead quite dominantly at the moment.
One thing to note is Grey Soviet has a command coming into Hotel as well, and so right now we are looking at a very, very healthy potential command lead if the stepdads can get all their commands out and get all those points locked down.
Mm-hmm. So it looks like Marine's pulling his ships back from the shoreline. This could be a good maneuver to preserve his ships. And he's beginning to feel very confident about pushing his aircraft just behind the Jiangyus. Maybe the intention here is to put pressure on Serenity Alice as an airborne player.
One thing I'm a bit confused about is Kagernat is moving his infantry in Alpha, um, and so they're not capping Alpha for that to get rid of the point lead. They're just running the infantry around the island, which is an interesting choice. There we go. So now they've got the cap on Alpha and they've got the cap on Julia, so that's a pretty solid position.
Mm-hmm. And,
We'll see how it goes.
mm-hmm.
The cap on Juliet is very tenuous with that command being in the open.
If I can take a moment to appreciate where Z has put his command in Juliet, if you zoom in over there, it's quite hilarious.
That is a very stressed out commander. There are bullets flying everywhere.
So the Mahdi was firing in position, but it couldn't see the command unit. That's intriguing. Because it believes it's there, but it has no sight. Or if it does, it was for a moment, perhaps. Yeah. What's going on over here? Two attack markers from Marine. Ah, right. So it looks like an M84AN has been doing work with its gun. Trying to identify some of the targets. Oh, J7H inbound. But, ooh, just bombed that town. I believe there was infantry in it, but perhaps my eyes deceived me. So it looks like Grey Soviet is pushing hard on into Kagernot's position over here. while Kager is continually trying to push more infantry into that forest line. So looks like Gray Soviet brought in some amphibious units, but it looks like he brought them in from the wrong side, and those ships are going to punish him for it. Oh, that is sad. That is very sad.
Yeah, that's a pretty expensive expenditure there, for sure.
Is there any else trying to get the retaliation in? First missile taken out, second missile taken out. The Jiang Hughes are successful in their defense. Certainly else coming in with some seaplanes, but breaking off before the missile fires. Interesting choice. Perhaps he needs to realign. Oh, here comes the seed missiles. Both missiles whiff. Third missile whiffs. Oh, that's sad. Sorry, Lewis 7Bs. Today was not your day.
Interesting to see what happens here. Z is currently doing an attack into Kilo. Unfortunately, some M84s were right there, and they're taking very heavy casualties inside transports.
Oh, but Kagernat's coming with a JH7. Boom! One missile hit, bringing down one of the M84s to 1 hit point. That's gotta be making Comrade a little concerned. We're seeing a massive buildup of helicopters over here from Kagernat. Understandably, they are Mi-8Ts, so all they got is rocket pods. But we shall see what may come of that. Looks like Grey Soviet's Jakari just got out of the building and absolutely murdered. Sad thing to see.
Very nice snipe by Z on the M84.
Yep.
Bringing in a deep unit, a PTZ-59, and getting a side shot.
I was a little late to that, but I see it. Looks like the PTZ just came over the top of the hill, gave it a pop, and kept moving down. Looks like the Vidra is also out of guns over here. Those Vidras want to move in position to hit something, but unfortunately all they got is the Malyuka Ts. But the PTZ-59 is not faring any better. Missing a lot of shots at the moment. Oh, and the Zanchi 85s knock out a Vidra. Now we're seeing a lot of militia crossing over the bridge. 105 militia with PTZ 80s. It's enough. But the anti-tank missiles. Okay.
I will say, with the militia, they're just militia, but the fact is, they're infantry, and that in a town fight with a bit of force around it makes a difference.
Looks like Marine has been rotating his ships to absorb different anti-ship missiles, and it seems, if nothing else at the moment, that his ships are there to merely distract the other team with anti-ship planes. An interesting gambit. It certainly forces them to want to engage that. They want to remove those anti-air assets from their airspace. But for the moment, those Jiangyus are still alive and kicking.
I will say, it looks like a lot. We'll see what it does. There is a huge amount of militia coming in from Echo right now, as well as some airborne infantry from Kegernot, and a command as well from Z. And so if these infantry can get out and get placed and set up a line or push into the woods, they might do some work. We'll have to see what happens.
Indeed. And it seems like Comrade Dude is going to have a rough sell if he doesn't manage to pull some anti-infantry assets to deal with all these militia and otherwise infantry. Meanwhile, I believe Grey Soviet is trying to hold Shitfight Mountain, and he's dug himself into a hotel, but he's expended limited assets pushing outside of the towns he's holding. Oh, we've got a bunch of planes flying overhead from the Jiangyus. And we're seeing a thermobaric bomber coming out over here, dropping bombs on some Zanchi. Ooh, and those guys looking real toasty. Hope they brought sunscreen. Oh, we're seeing an air engagement. L-18s fired off their missiles, and the J-8Cs, uh, not being too micromanaged, but did manage to retaliate a little bit. But I believe that there was no effective kills.
I watched the little furball there, and unfortunately, well, fortunately, I guess, not too much went down.
So far, it looks like Sonny Ellis, Comrade Dude, and Gray Soviet are in the lead by 252 points. Sonny Ellis, feeling confident, has an L-19 doing combat air patrol over Lima. Meanwhile, it looks like some seed planes were engaging some engaging some ships and managed to sink a Jianghu. However, those SU-7Bs flew too close together and got down together. Boom.
Very, very important move right now. Outside of Juliet, Comrade Dude is taking the plateau above Juliet. This will give good control of all the access routes into kind of Kilo and in through Echo. So potentially a very good spot. Z's just pinged it, and that could potentially be a very big problem if that's capitalized on.
So we're seeing Marine over here with the ZTS-63-2s. Two of them just got deleted by the M84s. That is a rough sell. Rough sell indeed. I love the little cavalry tank, but unfortunately, it is just not going to be enough sometimes. Oh, Marine comes in with JH-7s. Two of them. Getting to sniping on some tanks. That is forcing Comrade Dude back.
Interestingly enough, that wasn't the tanks, that was the Spat Pockets. And so that means that the air support there is gone, and those tanks are vulnerable to
Oh, that,
my APs.
oh.
And
And now,
so they are retreating.
yep, I see it. Even Kagger's getting in on some of this action now. And there's a wave of helicopters that were being used as aerial transports, finally getting used to the rockets. This is what their moment was for. Could you imagine seeing this many helicopters come for you and not know what exactly they all are? Unfortunately, all that Comrade Dude knows is that their helicopters, they're shooting at them and they're dealing real damage. This is giving enough time for Z to call in a platoon of ZTZ-88Bs. These might be enough to contend with the tanks of Comrade Dude.
Especially given that they have so many targets that they're dealing with, and they're already quite heavily damaged. So we'll really have to see if an anti-air asset can get pulled up to really fight back those helicopters in time.
The Gamma 2s from Serenity Ellis are trying to engage, but unfortunately they've only got 4 missiles. And there goes the last one. Those Gamma 2s are completely unarmed. However, Kaggernut's run into an interesting issue as well. A lot of his helicopters are out of rockets. And not feeling too bold, has decided to pull back from pushing any further to avoid feeding his units. Meanwhile, it looks like Serenity Ellis is trying to provide as much support as he can to Comrade Dude. However, he's using Specialty Janaki. That may not be a high volume card of assets to deal with what might be yet to come. I can easily say there's over 100 Chinese infantrymen in Kilo here. And that is going to be a rough sell for these Specialty Janakis and the 2 tanks.
I think we're about to watch them disappear. They're trying to attack into some Luzandu, and that will cost them very, very heavily.
And the Tanki Shosho get the Sava, destroying more of the anti-air net that Comrade Dude has available to him.
Really exciting push here by Marine. I'm quite interested to see what happens. He's pushing some Luzandu up into Hotel. There's some Kart and Jakari there, but there's the command infantry right there as well. So this might be an early steal on a point. But what is you have to see if this goes through.
And we got some thermobark bombers that came into Kilo, but yeah, I don't know if they did enough. Gray Soviet pushing his command infantry through. being engaged by Z's quad stack of UBA, with the Ericsson Jakari being engaged on a lot of sides.
We've got the fight with the Luzandu going on right now in Hotel. It looks like they're just about to take out that command. And there goes the
And
command.
there goes the command and hotel. And there's no more assets left to defend it. All the infantry was pushed over the mountain into the other side. But they cannot see how much infantry there is. Grey Soviet
That's going to be
has
a
made a...
really expensive attack right there.
Yep. I don't believe Grey Soviets just has the volume to deal with all this infantry that's dug into the towns. He's going to need something else if he wants to break these towns. The Cart and Dragari are pretty good, but dealing with Legion and several stacks of UBA, that'll be a lot to burn through, even for your standard RPKs. Or an RPDs.
Looking at a potential second command snipe right now, the Ubate, so militia, are attacking the command in Juliet. There's 2 commands there, but the loss of that unit, it's not a high volume unit. You only get 4 of them in a pull, so that could be quite expensive.
We're seeing a bomb run come in and take another command that was in Juliet. However, it looks like that MiG-21 paid for it, or the J7H. I believe it might have been the ITO-90 and the Spat Foka. Marginally the ITO-79s that might have done it. Xenoman using WC551s to kill the Ericsson Jakari, and that is a tough loss. Getting only 4 or 5 per card, you don't want to lose one. Now, there's something I do want to point out. I believe... I might be wrong here, but I do believe the Ericsson Jakari can't see over the hill just outside of Alpha. No, they at least see the ships. And Sea Kaggers make 29Ks. Kagger, yeah. Looks like everybody else is trying to go in to intercept some of these aircraft that are doing combat air patrol over Alpha.
That's going to be dangerous over those Jangers. They could very potentially do a very large toll on that L-18. Smart shot here. They're going for the Muna. They're not going for the Jangus. With the Muna being that close and that low on health to those Jangus, if that Muna goes up, it could very potentially kill all 3 of those ships.
Yep. Don't forget, people. Secondary explosions from ships are have an immense blast radius. Don't underestimate them, and be careful about parking your ships too close together. All right, so we have a furball kind of happening over Charlie right now. L18 and L19 are engaging.
That L-18 is going very, very deep. That's a very big
and we got a 5-out
base.
that just got a kill on a Spat Foka. But the L19 might get the kill. Given that there's no anti-air over here that I can see of at the moment, it is going to be a very interesting trade. But looks like the furball is over. So it looks like Z Kagger Marine got the +2 lead finally.
Interesting fight with just instead of Juliet, there are 3 M84As trying to fight some Leon Johns and Allegians, and it's the tanks don't really can't really see them, and the Legions can't really.
And the ZTS are firing from the trees, so the M84s can't see them. The missile's trash, but Comrade Dude is goaded out of an attack yet again.
At this point, I'm really interested to see what both teams will do in terms of assets because they're starting to get to an asset fatigue. Definitely
Oh,
just kind of looking at the map.
and we see a bit of an
Looking at the
interesting play right now happening. Marine is and Kagger are working together to resupply the helicopters with Amuna. If you look over by Delta.
that will be an interesting play for sure. I hadn't realized it, but the Red Brigade has no fobs, zero fobs, and so that trying to use attack helicopters without a fob means you have to use alternative supply, and that would be Amuna.
Poor Marine has gotten delegated to doing supply duty.
I will say, looking at the other team as well, the Stepdads, they have one fob, so this is a very interesting match in terms of supply. Um, both teams can start fights, but if they pull out any assets like artillery or heavy anti-air with rockets or missiles, they're going to have a hard time sustaining those things, or helicopters. So it'll be interesting to see which team really has the strength to go through the match and maintain supply throughout the match.
Indeed. And looks like we're seeing Comrade Dude pull some Proletariat 90. This is a solid way to clean up these UBA out here. It looks like Z is calling in an attack marker on those proletarians. Is there anything on the way? My mini-map says no.
I will say, Marines, Luzandu and Hotel are still doing a lot of work. They're pushing some assets there.
Ooh,
We'll see what
an
happens. They
L-18
might.
that got baited for a JH-7 got down by the Jiangyus. Sorry to interrupt you, but we are
Oh,
seeing another thermal barrack strike.
really solid thermal barrack strike.
Actually,
Having
no, it missed. It completely missed. It went over the all the infantry and missed.
there was a thermal barrack strike on Hotel, and those Luzandu, the 40 Luzandu that have
Oh,
been holding
oh,
that are
over here by
down.
hotel. Yes, yes.
Yes, so very well aimed and didn't stop the attack that's going in, but certainly took out an asset that was fairly important
Yeah,
in keeping that counterattack on
Yeah,
Hotel.
40 Luzendoi is basically half the force at this point. That is tough. I am sorry I missed that. I am sorry, my dear viewers. Uh, all right. Well, we see the PTC-80 desperately trying to fight off these Mi-25s, but they're being engaged by Vitras. This is going to be a hard sell for them.
Interesting in this match, we have seen, I believe, zero artillery. Given that both teams do not have fobs, or there's one fob between both teams, there is no means to support artillery. So there is no artillery support, there's no smoke, and there's no ability to loosen up infantry positions using mortars.
Yep. But there certainly is a lot of aircraft.
Thermobaric bombers are definitely trying to fill that role as best they can.
Looks like we see some J72Ms coming in from Kegger. Looks like he wants to get some blood on those Mi-25s. Looks like somebody else's L-19, though, has some other words to say about that. Kaganot's MiG-29K eats the missiles, but... Oh, Marines? PTZ-80 got the kill? The PTZ-80 just killed an L-19. Yeah, yeah. I got the last... It might have been one shell, but I got the last of the damage.
I think we're about to see one of the difficulties of a Yugoslav deck, and the Proletariat were just dropped off outside of Kilo. They lost their transports from the PTZ 59s, and those are expensive units. I think you only get 12 of them in a card,
Oh, but
so losing 3 of those is
it is tough.
very painful.
It is tough, but the thermal barrack bombers just made those tanks pay for it again. And the Fireball taking out the Spat Foka yet again. Oh, and the Fireball narrowly getting away with its life.
I'm very interested to see where the match goes from here. We're approaching even in terms of points with a +3 point lead for the Red Brigade, and we'll have to see if that continues or if that switches around. In terms of assets at this point, really strong position for the Red Brigade. They've got lots of infantry. They've got a nicely fanned out defense. Don't have any artillery, mind you, but they do have support assets. They've resupplied their attack helicopters, and those will be ready and waiting for the next emergency response.
Most indeed. And so it looks like Hotel. It is on the onus for Gray Soviet to re-seize Hotel if he wants to stop this point bleed. Oh, we got the 5Ls going in on the thermal barrack bomber. Uh, takes one hit but gets away. The 5Ls low on health but get away with their lives. One had 1 HP and the other had 2 or 3. Very narrow call there.
Now, Comrade Dude and Marine have both moved commands into Hotel, so this will cancel out that point bleed, but at the same time, it's still a +3, so it's a very good quick command in by Marine to make sure that a Hotel point is contested.
Most indeed. That puts the onus on Gray Soviet to push further inland and rather than just bunker into the town at the corner. And that's going to be a tough sell. I don't see any infantry on the way. So, seeing that 2 L-19s were downed by Serenialis, or of Serenialis's, I believe that's got to be a rough loss on him. He only gets 2 per card. And I know we've seen some other aircraft get downed. But Serenialis is maintaining his anti-ship assaults using the Su-27Ks.
I'm hoping we see this Muna go up. This could be the shot.
Will it go under? One down. No, and the Muna goes up, but it had lost all of its supplies anyways.
That's I would say too bad, but it's good for Marines. So
Oh yeah. Well, at least it blew up away from the ships. They are still calm.
nice job reinforcing the line, trying to get assets up. Comrade Dude has pulled some VHORs in, and they're just trying to reinforce that position on Juliet. Get a lot of units in there, just taking up the defense. There isn't a you know what? It's a very good defensive line right now for the Red Brigade, and then they've got the point lead, so we'll see what happens.
Most indeed. All right, so we're seeing some bombers and strike aircraft supported by Seed moving towards Juliet. So we got a bomber underway, dropping a 1,000 kilogram bomb.
Okay, I think this is probably going to be the play of the game. Right now, Marine has pushed in with some Luzandu into Hotel and cleaned up the command there. And so seizing Hotel, and at this point with that many infantry in there, making it very difficult to counterattack into Hotel without a serious infantry engagement. That is a pretty decisive attack.
Mm-hmm. Looks like the securing of Shipfight Mountain by Red Brigade, giving them a +5 lead. That could be rough.
I think one of the hard things right now for the Stepdads definitely will be I'm looking at their air assets, and they have lots of assets for anti-ship. They have some assets, they have thermobaric bombers, but it's a lot of air assets that they've got to fly through potentially hostile airspace, and they've got to be able to spot the targets before they can really get damage on the enemy side. And it's going to be very hard for them to push against Red Brigade with those dug-in infantry in volume in the forest on Shipfight Mountain. It will make it a very, very difficult push.
Looks like these CS-63-2s have some more words about these tanks that are being pushed in by Grey Soviet and other vehicles.
Yeah, I think that attack will very shortly end. Being unsupported, not having helicopters, artillery, or anything else, with a relatively weak tank like that, they will get eaten.
All right, so it looks like we see Kagranat mobilizing his helicopters to be pushing in. And we're seeing an L-18 in the airspace with a couple MiG-23 BNs.
Just looking at the anti-air net, there isn't a heck of a lot there. There's some Gammas and there's a Sava.
And looks like the Super Glubs from Stony L's are trying to find something to engage. Looks like he wants to try to engage some of the tanks that Z has over here. But all eyes are lost. And the PTZ-80 is causing turbine failure on the Super Glub, forcing it to evac. Looks like we've got some 5Ls coming in, going for a big seed sweep.
That being said, I do not believe we have any radar anti-air left at
I
all
don't.
on the stepdads.
But the 5Ls still have their anti-air missile, have their air missiles, and there goes an L-18 killed by 5Ls. Yep, killed by 5Ls. We see somebody else coming in with MiG-23BNs and MiG-29A. This is a shit fight in the sky. But the thermal barrack bombers are coming in. They hit the PGZ-80s, and that could be rough, especially if they can't make it out in time.
It'll be interesting to see what happens now. They have committed that full helicopter swarm onto Juliet. There aren't a lot of other assets going in, but that's a lot of helicopters.
Yep, it looks like the Savas are going to be fighting for their lives right about now.
A couple of those, there are some infantry coming in as well in ground transports. So if those helicopters can carve a hole, I think those infantry could very well get placed in there.
Oh, the Savas are eating the rockets really hard. One just went down. All right, looks like we see Sonny Ellis using the Su-27Ks for air-to-air at this point for combat air patrol over Lima. And Z's team, the Red Brigade, is pulling ahead with the lead here. Sonny Ellis's MiG-20 MiGs are coming in.
All right, Kager's pulling those helicopters back. They've done the damage. They've kind of sowed some confusion. And now we have an infantry attack coming in from Z over just by Juliet, and we'll see how that goes through. It's definitely taking the initiative away from the stepdads. They'll have a very hard time getting enough resources together to do anything else this match.
Yes, indeed. The 5-hour at this point engaging with the gun.
Exciting. We have a Jangu move. So the remaining Jangu, there's one single Jangu remaining, and it is pushing into Gulf.
Wow. Looks like the Super Glubs want to have a word with that Janghu. It just ate 2 anti-tank missiles, and it takes no planes with it. Although it did get a chance to fire off its missiles, so that's not free hits. Marine sending
It's a
out.
good distraction. It's something else to pull attention away from the main fight and pull other assets away from that main fight.
Most indeed.
My apologies for interrupting. I think you were mentioning the Su-27 SKs are out there. Just trying to keep that Jangu up and alive.
And the MiG-23BN might be punished. Oh, it went down! All that maneuvering from Marine just managed to pay off. Moving that Jianghu allowed him to move into the bay, and they punished that MiG-23BN coming out all the way into the bay, flying over Shitfight Mountain. The anti-ship missiles are inbound, and a anti-ship plane goes down. Su-27K is down.
We are 20 points from victory with a +5 lead. I will say, very nicely played match. Nice advances, nice infantry attacks, and a focus on the assets, which make the match. A few surprising things with certain assets that were not taken. No artillery, no fobs for the most part, but
Uh,
makes for an interesting match.
For sure. It was quite an interesting brawl for sure. Easily Marine coming in as one of the MVPs for fighting on Shitfight Mountain and getting quite a handful of kills. I'd say that there was not interesting plays from V, but Marine definitely came out on top here with the amount of kills. Comrade
I will
Dude struggling pretty hard in the fight. Sorry, go ahead.
I would agree. I think Marine, if I had to give an MVP, would definitely be the MVP this match for the Red Brigade. The reason for that is the attack with infantry and the taking of Shitfight Mountain on the far side.
Hmm.
There was a couple heavily, dense stacks of Luz Endu that ran across and got in there and took it. That turned a +2 lead into a much bigger lead, and it really set that momentum for ending the game early.
For sure.
And very, very solid plays, very, very good infantry play there.
Yeah, and looking at it, Kagger was doing the workhorse. He was just carrying the airspace and keeping the pressure on Serenity Owls constantly through the fight by sheer attrition. And Z, while losing a lot of losses, definitely pulled ahead for his team in securing the most zones. He paid a lot of blood to hold those conquest points the way he did.
Absolutely, I cannot disagree with that. And I will say, Kagernaut did a fantastic job bringing in air support, bringing in those ATGM planes.
I know,
That made a difference.
and it wasn't just Kagger who brought in ATGM planes. It was also Marine bringing the JH7, maybe even Z Newman.
I think what that spells altogether is good teamwork and good teamwork for an earned victory. Um, for the stepdads, well fought match, hard fought match. Difficult fights that were against a lot of infantry, and having those tank assets, having that strong armor and mechanized assets against just a lot of infantry in a forest, it's a very hard asset to utilize.
Indeed. Those kind of close quarters fights are always going to favor infantry in a lot of ways, whether it's with the RPG or whether it's with Legion 90 using their thermobaric launcher against infantry in the forest, or those approaching the town even. Um, for sure, those fights are were really key. Um, Gray Soviet definitely having the roughest time. He tried to hold that mountain for as long as he did, but eventually I think he just ran out of infantry. And
I will say that that's a huge challenge with an armor player and an air player that are fairly dedicated. If you're the one infantry player and you're playing against a marine deck and a moto deck,
and
you're
an
fighting against
airborne, because
infantry.
even Kagger
Yeah,
brought infantry into that mountain. It was a lot of infantry to deal with. I'm not sure how much Z brought in infantry for Shipfight Mountain. I don't think it was a lot. But Marine and Kagger were definitely present. So Gray had to deal with two players bringing infantry by himself, while Gumberdude had to hold the other side of the map. Not to say that Gray didn't try to provide support on the other side of the map, but he holding Shipfight Mountain is one of the key parts of this map.
and yeah, without the infantry to do it, it makes it extremely, extremely difficult.
For,
So well played and fought as well as it could be. Awesome to both teams and a very enjoyable match. Some interesting choices and some interesting uh, assets. Definitely interesting to see the extra the early ship attack with 3 ships. That's a very big investment. Um, especially without like an accompanying marine invasion or something. So
yeah, but
uh,
I think he got away with it because he pays about 160 points for a Jianghu, right? But the amount of points that the enemy has to pay to bring it into ship plane is equal to about a Jianghu. So in a way, the point value and the card exchange was about equal. If not, it might have been a little more expensive to call in three Jianghus, but the enemy team did have to call in multiple anti-ship planes to deal with them.
absolutely, I agree completely. It's a thing where one card has to pull the assets from 2 to 3 players to deal with, and that's expensive. It's not something that you can just ignore. And even if it didn't lead to an attack, it led to kind of a control of an airspace. There were a couple kills, I think, on some of the planes coming in, and that adds up. All those little little points add up, and they take away assets that eventually lead to a victory. So a very good, solid victory.
Indeed. And if there's anything I have to really say about at least the naval combat of it was that it definitely seemed like the Su-27K was having a hard time getting one missile through. Um, it's one of the big reasons why I try to sell in the MiG-29K, even though it's not popular with everybody. But it definitely, the Su-27K did at least help provide combat air patrol on the land side of the map. But if you're trying to get rid of ships, the MiG-29K, I think for Red 4 is, how do you say, irreplaceable.
Well, I think I don't know. That's a match.
That's a
Anything else
match.
you want to add in?
Nope, that was a good game. Very unexpected from Red Brigade. Um, well played. You know, outstanding match. Uh, so yeah. Well, then with all that said, thank you for watching, everybody. We will see you
Yeah.
on the next match.
Thanks for watching, and just a reminder that militia is not always useless.
Militia is not always useless. All right, have a good one, everybody.
But have a good one.